Alright, hey guys. Okay, so the second vlog for Marked. I did the first one last week for chapters 1 through 6. Tonight we're covering chapters 7 through 13. If you haven't seen the previous one, it is up in the cards. You will kind of have to watch that if this is going to make sense. Let's just get into it. I'm having some camera difficulties, so I'm going to try and keep this brief. Chapter 7 has Zoe being escorted to her dorm by Neferet, who is at one point called away, and Zoe basically stumbles across a pair of students who are seemingly about to have sex in one of the hallways, which that's already a bad idea, particularly if you're in a hallway where anyone can just walk by and get an eyeful. But the guy is repeatedly telling the girl who's advancing to back off, to stop, and she's basically ignoring him. And of course, when they notice Zoe, they kind of freak out a little bit. She does get away before the girl spots her, which I thought was amusing. So yeah, there's that, which did kind of irritate me because, withdrawal of consent and all that. I know it's a work of fiction, but considering the kind of stuff that I've seen in the news, especially recently, that did kind of rub me the wrong way. Chapter 8 sees her arrive at her dorm, and she meets Aphrodite, who is apparently the girl from the hallway, and Aphrodite takes her up to her dorm room to meet her roommate. Her roommate is, of course, Stevie Ray Johnson, who is just a big ball of energy. She's very bouncy, she's very energetic, she's fun. She's also a very considerate person, who doesn't comment on Zoe's mark, for a change. She's also terrified of Aphrodite for reasons that aren't really explained. They are explained, but it's not really explained with any clarity. I'll get to that when we get to that chapter. But so there's that. We get some brief exposition on how the uniforms work, but that and the how Zoe can wear pretty much anything as long as she's wearing something with her mark. Apparently, the different grades have different symbols, so as long as she's wearing something with the third former symbol, she's fine. And this is kind of the first of the exposition dumps in the book. It's really the only way I can describe it. The two head to dinner, where they meet the rest of what will be Zoe's motley crew of misfits. Aaron Bates and Shawnee Cole, who are nicknamed the Twins. They call each other Twin. They are, I'm going to quote the book, they are freakishly alike. Right down to their shoe sizes being exactly the same. Same height, same shoe size, the works. We also meet Damian Maslin, and with his introduction, I looked up a couple of reviews of the book, some reviews of Marked before I started this vlog series, and a lot of people did kind of take issue. A lot of the reviews that I saw did kind of take issue with his introduction, because Stevie Ray does kind of say, she does say that she doesn't really think he counts as a guy, specifically because he's gay. So he's described as the token guy of the group, but and this is kind of an exact quote from the book. He's gay, so I don't think he really counts as a guy. And contrary to, you know, the sex scene from earlier, well, the almost sex scene from earlier, this one didn't really bother me, because one, it is a work of fiction, and two, Damien's response is just perfect, because he says something to the effect of, I think I should be kind of considered as both, because you get both perspectives from both sides. I'm guessing he means male and female perspectives, and you don't have to worry about me trying to cop a feel, which Stevie Ray kind of admits that she didn't think of it that way. I thought that was kind of odd, but kind of fitting as well. So yeah, I didn't really take issue with that. I can certainly see why people took issue with it. But yeah, it didn't really bother me. Something else, and this is not something that I included in my notes, but he does at one point reference or refer to a group of students as band fags as a term of endearment, and a lot of people took issue with that because, well, it's a racial, well, not a racial, it's a homophobic slur, at least in the modern context. Now that didn't really bother me at all, because I'm actually I am familiar with the term. I know it's a homophobic slur nowadays, but if you go back a few years, it was actually a slang term for cigarettes, and if you go back even further, and this is actually where I first saw the term, in Roald Dahl's autobiography. He's got a whole chapter, let me just get to it, where he was, I think this is part of his 9 to 13 years. Oh no, this was, I think, a little bit after that. But he talks about a part of his life where he was what they called a fag in those days. And in the days when he was at school, what that was basically a servant or a slave. The younger students would kind of run errands and do things for the older students. And that's not, I know it doesn't really justify the use of the term in Marked. I just thought it was interesting that people I know why they took offense to the term, but it didn't really bother me because I'm familiar with, you know, with the fact that it was a slang term for cigarettes, and you know, I've also read Roald Dahl's autobiography, and he talks about it quite a bit. So he's got a whole chapter dedicated to that part of his life. I'm not going to lie, when I read it in Boy, which is Roald Dahl's book, I did kind of have to do a double take. I'm like, whoa, did he really write that? But yeah, once he'd explained it, it kind of made sense. Now I do have to refer to my notes. This is chapter 9 that we are all talking about. Damien also explains a little bit more about the school. He talks about the different symbols for 4th, 5th and 6th formers, and he also talks about the Dark Daughters, which is basically a group of elite students. It's supposed to be like a school project, kind of like a community project type setup, but what it's become is more of a private club for the popular kids, which obviously doesn't sit well. Now, of course, as the saying goes, speak of the devil and he shall appear, right? Well, at the end, chapter 9 closes with Aphrodite, who is the leader of the Dark Daughters, extending a formal invitation to Zoe to join the Dark Daughters, to come to one of their rituals, which I thought was kind of odd, but at the same time, if everybody's talking about the kind of the new kid, then I guess it kind of makes sense that you would want to kind of hang out with them, get status by proxy. But yeah, that's kind of where chapter 9 leaves off. Chapter 10 is where we get kind of the next big exposition dump, but most of it is focused on Damien. So we get a little bit more about the I think it's in this one. No, it's not in this one. But in chapter 10 we learn more about Damien than we learn about anything else. Stevie Ray's already mentioned that he's gay. We learn that his parents are very much against him being gay, so they were actually okay with him being marked. And I'm not going to lie, that actually really bothered me. Again, it's not because, I didn't take issue with the term of endearment, as Damien calls it. And I also didn't really take offense to his introduction because this is a work of fiction. If I was going to be offended at everything that would be considered offensive nowadays, well, then I wouldn't really enjoy reading. But this really, again, it goes back to that the withdrawal of consent from chapter 7. You see a lot of anti-LGBTQ stuff in the news, and it's just not nice when you tune into the news and that's all you see. So that did kind of bother me. We also learn that, let me just check here, his father is affiliated with the People of Faith. He's very high up in the ranks, apparently, like a minister or something like that. Stevie Ray does kind of start to explain that, and Zoe cuts her off and says, well, you don't have to say anything, because she's very well acquainted with the People of Faith and their belief system. I mentioned that extensively in the last vlog. And then the last point that we learn, or the last kind of major point that we learn, is that he had a very homophobic roommate when he first moved in. And then when he was offered the chance to have a room by himself, he took it. And frankly, I can't really blame him. I don't like homophobic people. I don't think anybody does. But yeah, reading these points, it kind of hit home for me in a couple of different ways. Damien became a very relatable character to me, not because he's gay, more because he's an outsider. I mentioned this when I did the review of Stephen King's Carrie. When I was at school, I was very much kind of an outsider. I had very few friends, and Damien is pretty much the same. He has 3 or 4 friends, and beyond that, there are no friends that we know of. Now that does kind of change as the series progresses, but at least here he doesn't really have many friends. He is kind of the treated as the outsider, the weirdo kind of guy. So that did kind of hit home a little bit for me, because I was also kind of the outsider when I was at school. So yeah. Chapter 11, we kind of get So we kind of get a little bit more about cats. Cats play a very big role in the series, and Zoe does dream about cats, which is kind of random, but I digress. We also learn that she's a bit of a cereal fan, which struck me as funny because I'm not much of a breakfast person. So I personally, if I eat very early in the mornings, it kind of makes me a little bit sick. But Zoe gets up and she hears that there's cereal, and she gets very excited because she has an I Heart Cereal shirt to prove just how geeky she is about it. So yeah, I just thought that was funny. She also decides on taking drama as one of her vocational or elective subjects, and Stevie Ray remarks that you could be the next Nicole Kidman, and Zoe looks at that and kind of goes, oh yeah, that wouldn't be bad. But she says, oh, that wouldn't be bad, but she also then remarks that I think I put the exact quote in here. The exact quote is, not that I plan on marrying and then divorcing a married short person. This in reference to Tom Cruise. And I thought that was funny because I'd never really looked at Tom Cruise's height in film, and actually looking back at films like Mission Impossible and Jack Reacher, he is kind of short. So yeah, again, that was just kind of a funny little line. Chapter 12, in fact chapters 12 and 13 kind of cover Zoe's first day. For chapter 12, she basically goes through a very, very interesting lesson on the Amazons in vampire sociology, and when she goes to drama class, she learns that they're going to do monologues, and there's a demo monologue that is done by one of the star students, who just so happens to be the guy from The Hallway, one Eric Knight, which, not gonna lie, that's actually a pretty cool name. Yeah, so she recognizes him and kind of freaks out a little bit, but she also meets another student, Elizabeth, who kind of gives her a little bit of a pep talk. Oh, Eric was looking at you. Oh, your mark's actually pretty cool, by the way, which I thought was nice. That was a nice little line about oh, your mark. I think your mark is cool. I thought that was nice because, well, frankly, when you're the new kid, life as the new kid isn't easy. So it was kind of nice to see more than 4 students coming in and actually giving a genuine compliment. Now, with that, we kind of move on to chapter 13, which is very much like chapter 10 in that nothing really happens. Zoe goes to the English Lit class and meets Professor, and I'm going to have to read this off of my notes because otherwise I am going to butcher this name. Penthesilea. I hope I got that right. And Penthesilea basically says, oh, well, I was born in 1902, which means I was 10 years old in April of 1912. That's exactly out of the book. She then goes on to say that she remembers the tragedy very well. She doesn't say what tragedy, she just says, I remember the tragedy very well. And then she asks her students, what am I talking about? And nobody has a clue. Now, April of 1912, the most tragic thing that happened in April of 1912 could have been anything, but I think the most well-known would have been the sinking of the RMS Titanic, which was, I think at the time, and I think that it's actually still true now, it's still regarded as the worst maritime disaster in history. I don't know for sure, but I'm going to have to look that up. I know at the time of its sinking it was considered the worst disaster in history, so I'll have to look that up and see if it's still true. But so yeah, the only one who really knows it is Zoe, and the only reason she knows it is that she at one point had a huge crush on Leonardo DiCaprio and had seen the Titanic movie several times. Now at the end of the English Lit class, the professor chews out one of the students for pretty much not doing what he's supposed to do. And I'm not gonna lie, this kid really irritated me because, one, he was sleeping in class, which when I was in school, even when I started homeschooling, if I fell asleep at my desk it was big trouble. Unless I was having like an epileptic fit or something, it would mean big trouble. So she basically tells him, look, you're failing because you're not doing what you're supposed to do. I'm going to give you one chance to make up for it. What's your decision? Are you going to do the paper or not? And this kid basically says, no. Nah, I'm not going to do it. You know, I don't care what anyone else thinks. I don't feel like doing it, so I'm not going to. Which that irritated me. I mean, you don't talk to teachers like that. Again, it's something I see in the news a lot. You know, just bad attitude and abuse towards teachers, which, you know, it irritates me because they're there trying to do their job and you're making it difficult for them for no reason other than you can. So yeah, so that's kind of chapter 13. As I said, okay, so that was the second vlog for Marked. Those are my thoughts on chapters 7 through 13. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, leave a like. The link to the previous vlog, as I said, will be in the cards. It will also be in the description, along with the link to the Crazy Nut Reviews Facebook page and the blog. Check those out if you like. I post most of my updates to the Facebook page. I haven't put any videos on Facebook as of yet, I think since the Bloodsong review, but I'm going to start doing that now within the next kind of week or so. I'll put the first couple of vlogs up there and see what happens. Anyway, as I said, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like. Obviously subscribe for more content and make sure you ring the bell. I'm still trying to get used to saying that. It's not really something I'm used to saying yet. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you've read Marked and you have your own thoughts, well, I know you have your own thoughts in the book, so let me know what you think of the book. Did you enjoy it? Did you not enjoy it? Why or why not? Yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.